Don't be too scared. It's okay. If your fear's there, love it, embrace it, hold it, be with it. Let it go. But don't let it run you. Don't let it rule you. It's all going to be okay. It's just a bit of a shit show. And every breakup can be messy at times and it can be scary. But I'm sure you've been through one, if not two, three, four, five, like hairy, messy, uncomfortable, painful, heartbreaking breakups. And guess what? You're still here. You're still here. So let's do it. Okay? We're here for each other. I'm here for you in spirit, on the screen. And don't lose faith. Don't lose faith in yourself. Don't lose faith in soul. Don't lose faith in source. You are held. You are loved. You are protected. You are free. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? Some fiery times, as always, riding the roller coaster, right? So today I wanted to speak about the big breakup of what we're going through as our society, our quote unquote reality, our entire belief system, you could say, is kind of falling to pieces, right? And I use this analogy, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, about how what we're going through right now is essentially waking up to and breaking up from a highly abusive relationship. And it's sometimes really hard. I read a really good post about this morning that was saying it's really hard to see something when you were born into it and when your parents have been born into it. And it's just been the norm, right? So a lot of people feel this kind of disheartened, hopeless, like, wow, the world is just getting so terrible and awful and ugly. And, God, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And you've probably heard this, like, it's actually not. That's crazy to say. It's actually not. It's just becoming visible. These structures have been in place for a long time, and the tactics have been used for a long time. We just didn't notice it. Because it's like a fish doesn't notice water, right? And similarly, I always find take macro and micro, because sometimes it's really hard in the macro. It's just like the lens is so wide that it's really hard to kind of understand or relate, or to have enough space to be able to see it from a different view. But the moment you make it into the micro and into the personal, the analogy that I used however many years ago was like, imagine that the way that the world is running itself right now and is treating humanity, imagine that that was a relationship with a single person that is speaking to you in these ways, that is harming you, that is violent, that is emotionally, physically, verbally abusive, that has no respect or reverence for life and for you, and maybe is trying to control you or trying to manipulate you or lying to you, and you're finding out all these terrible things about what they've done. A healthy person would be like, I'm not staying in this relationship. Are you kidding? Now, I say a healthy person, and it's not to say that someone stays in it is not healthy. Let me rephrase that. I want to be very, very sensitive to these words. It's more when we get, it's like the fish that can't see the water, when someone maybe is used to a level of abuse because that's all they've ever known their entire lives, because maybe their parents were like that. And then they go into a relationship as an adult that, of course, mimics the relationship that we had with our parents, right? Until we make the unconscious conscious, the subconscious conscious, and then release the trauma, the patterning, the belief systems that go with it. But the moment that you take something from the macro scale and you concentrate and you zoom it in and you go, would I put up with this if this were in my relationship? Would I put up with being talked to like this? Would I put up with the abuse? Would I put up with the manipulation? Would I put up with the lies? Would I put up with... Most of us would answer no. Some would answer, no, I don't want to be in that relationship, but I don't know how to get out, right? That is the hardest aspect of when one is in an abusive relationship. It's like, how do you get safely out of this, right? So this might seem like a weird topic and maybe a little bit like heavy and dark, but it's actually a really positive thing, because it's like when you wake up to something and it's really harsh. It makes me think of when it was Glennon Doyle's book. I forget, was it Love Warrior or something like this? And she talks about how when she first went to therapy with her then husband and found out that he had been cheating on her for years, and the thing that struck her wasn't just woman, it was women, it was plural, and she just was like, her whole reality kind of imploded because she had no idea. She had no idea. And then all of a sudden, it's like the truth, the reality hits, and it becomes not just surreal, but the word that I use is like hyper real, because you're like, what is this? All of a sudden, everything, your whole idea of what your life was, your trajectory was, the safety, the stability, just the very structure. All of a sudden, it's like you realize it's on stilts and breaking stilts at that, right? So there's a shock. There's a shock to the system. But the moment there is that like aha of seeing the truth, as cliche as it is, the truth will set you free, my friend. Because it's the truth, right? It's the truth. And I said this last week, I'm just the kind of person that I would much rather have an ugly truth to a pretty lie, because just the frequency of truth and authenticity for me is just, it's so important, to be living on anything less than that. Just you'd be in constant conflict with yourself and in discord. Like, think of it as you're playing a piano that's out of key, out of tune, or you're playing a guitar and one of the strings is loose and it's like, you're constantly in discord, you're out of harmony, and we are frequency beings. And so we need to be in harmony, and truth is a huge and very important harmonic, right? As is authenticity, as is integrity, as is love, right? As is kindness. So it sounds and it looks like that kind of, oh shit, I'm waking up to the fact that, been in an abusive narcissistic relationship, or maybe one of my parents is a total narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, or whatever. And you're like, shit, my whole reality is falling apart before me, and the structures that I thought I relied on are not reliable anymore. And so it's a massive awakening, right? And at the same time, why it's such a great thing is because when you wake up to the truth, and when you wake up to being able to see the patterns rather than being manipulated by the patterns or brainwashed or whatever, I should be mindful of what words I'm using. When you're being essentially lied to, like that's not in resonance, right? And probably a part of us always knows that something's a little bit off, or we're just not in our potential when we're being either dumbed down or disconnected from, I've spoken a lot around our disconnection from nature and from source, from ourselves, from our feelings, from our emotions. I talked about that last week. There's been so much that has pulled us away from who we innately are, that our antenna is not as fine-tuned, right? It's not going to pick up the signals as much. But I do always believe that there's something in our gut that has this deeper, vaster knowing, whether we're conscious of it or not. Right now, we're going through, as a collective, as a people, as a humanity, as a species, like a massive breakup. And the thing is, it's really easy in a breakup, like even if you've been in just a terrible relationship, that you go through this phase. You go through the anger and the rage and all of these things, but then you might also have, but this was so nice. No, I don't want to lose that memory. Or because the thing is, it was less actually about that person or that thing. It was how we felt in it, or it was what we imagined about it. For instance, when I divorced my husband many, many years ago, part of my grief was not so much him, because I had already kind of been processing it for years. It was the grief of what I thought my life would be, what I thought it was going to be, and that it wasn't that. And that sometimes is a really hard thing to let go of. And yet, if something, in this case, on a collective level, if something is so profoundly detrimental to us, we have, part of it is letting go of all the things that we thought were lovely aspects of it. Like there's many things that people would love to just go back. Oh, can we go back to when like ignorance was bliss? And we didn't know this and we didn't know that. But the thing is, it still existed. It was still there. It's like someone saying, oh, I wish I could go back to before knowing that my partner was having all these affairs, because it seemed like we were happy. But no, not really, because otherwise that wouldn't have happened, right? Something was already out of harmony and in discord. And so I think, even though sometimes it takes a huge amount of courage to be living in truth, it ultimately is the biggest liberation, because truth allows us to just breathe. We don't have to, not, there's no part of us that needs to, even if the truth comes out and at first it's like, oh God, there is that initial pain. But I think the letting go of living a lie is a far greater relief than the initial pain of learning the truth. And this is the school of life. It's a school of hard knocks. Like, this shit ain't easy a lot of the time. But if you face each challenge knowing somehow that you were designed for this and you are capable, and nothing is ever too much for your soul. You think it's too much, and sometimes it feels like, back off, like this is too much, but you're still capable. You're actually beyond capable. And so right now, I know that so many people, it's adrenalizing and it's stressful. And for some, maybe you're really scared or really anxious, or it's just destabilizing or confusing or just overwhelming, like way too much crap, way too much noise, way too much information, way too much mixed information, way too much like what's real and what's not real, what's AI and what's not, it's madness. And yet, as I've been saying, that the louder things get, the quieter we have to get. The more chaotic things get, the calmer we have to get. The more fake things get, the more real we have to become. So it's showing us in this realm of polarity what we need, what we're letting go of, what we're breaking up from and separating from, and being like, yeah, I can cut the cord on that one. I don't need this anymore. And we're doing this collectively. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because if we can collectively say, no more to the abuse, no more to the lies, no more to the bullshit, no more to dot, 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 fill in the blank. And instead, we go, okay, no, the system can't continue. Anything, even a narcissist cannot use the same tactics if we no longer fall for the tactics anymore. We go, no, I see exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly how you're manipulating me. I can see it. I know it. I can feel it now because I know the trigger, right? And then you just don't give it any energy and it runs out of steam. Eventually it runs out of steam. And in the meantime, instead of feeding that, we actually find more courage and confidence to come back to ourselves and to build. The word confidence is really important, to build that sense of self-trust that then builds the confidence for us to be able to walk away, because that's what it requires in the end. There's no repairing it. There's only walking away from it. So, but the story that I wanted to tell is, I think for me, the best example that we're being shown of what's actually going on is Monsters Inc. Have you ever seen that? Was it Pixar film or something like this? that the main part of the story is that the way that Monsterville charges its city, that gets its electricity, is by the monsters going out at night and scaring the kids and catching their screams, and then the screams gives them the power to have electricity, right? And how by the end of that film they actually turn it around, because it's just awful, it's like to scare a kid to get energy, like that is literally an energy vampire, that is parasitic, right? And by the end, when I guess the main monster, Max was it, kind of really befriends this girl that he's meant to scare, by the end he finds that actually they make so much more energy by producing laughter instead of fear. And so for me, that film is like, here, humans, this is what's going on in your world. This is the system that you're in right now, that your fear is being used as energy. But actually, that what part of our energy is so much more powerful is our joy, our laughter, our love, our kindness, our collaboration. So, we're breaking up also with an identity and a how do I want to say this? It's not even just like a mode of being, a way of being, like literally almost like a physiological structure of living from survival. Because when I was studying, I was doing the research for a book that I wrote, I don't know now, 10 years. Where are we? 2026. Yeah, probably 10 years ago. Jesus, the time goes by. We primarily have lived in matriarchal egalitarian times. And when I read this thread this morning, it was saying that actually, in the history of humans, which they say is something like 200, 300,000 years, the patriarchy is actually a very short period of it. And it's a pretty bad experiment, right? But actually, all in all, it's a pretty short period. But my God, the amount of destruction, like if you want to look at it from a zoomed out perspective, it's like from a source soul perspective, it's like, let's see how far we can go in the opposite direction of who we truly are. If who we truly are is love and compassion and kindness and authenticity, we have gone to the other end of the spectrum, to hatred, violence, falseness, inauthenticity. And so it's kind of going like, okay, well, that experiment was awful. Maybe we learned something about it. And I do think one of the things that we're learning right now, and if I take the macro into the micro, when you leave a bad relationship, no matter if it was like super abusive with a narcissist or it's just a bad relationship, the steps to leave it are hard. They're scary. They take a lot of courage. You don't know what the next steps are going to be. You don't know what it's going to look like. You've based your security and your safety and your identity and your life trajectory in this, that you're like, how am I going to pay for my life? Where am I going to live? Do we have to separate the friends? There's all of these practicalities that come in that are really hard and can be scary and overwhelming. But when we begin to remove ourselves from this relationship that is unhealthy, the immediate thing that happens is we start to feel really, really good, healthy, lighter, brighter, more confident, more energized. You see people that come out of relationships or marriages and all of a sudden they lose a lot of weight, or they look healthier, they look lighter, like they can fly again, right? And so then that will give us more confidence. And so yes, you have to walk through the fire in the beginning, and it's deeply uncomfortable. And I think that's where we are right now. It's like, shit, this sucks, like, ouch. But the other side of it, and what will emerge through it, it's like the phoenix that rises from the ashes, is you're going to feel so good, because you're going to feel liberated and free, and like your self-worth is, your power is back in you. You've reclaimed the power that you gave away. And this is a really important note. This is a really important keynote, because getting out of the victim archetype that we've been in for a long time, we often use the terminology in a bad relationship of, they took my power away. They might have been, they might have been like trying to reel it in, right? But nobody can take our power away unless we give it to them. And I know that it's not always conscious. And again, it's like if you had abusive parents, then that's all you've known. And so then it's really hard to see that for what it is when you're with a partner and they're doing that, or with society at large when it's doing it, that you just think, oh, I'm worthless, or I'm not good enough, or, the child makes it about itself, right? And so there is this detaching and disidentifying with, I'm not this, I'm not the abuse, and I'm also not the victim. And when we come out of victimhood, we really come into our own sovereignty and recognize, oh, this is how I gave away my power. Maybe it was being yanked at, but this was the moment where I gave it away. And so when we reclaim it, we go, I'm a sovereign being. Remember what I said last week or the week before, nothing can touch your soul. Nothing can harm your soul. Nothing. So this illusion of losing our power, the illusion of losing our worth, it's just a belief. And it can be very convincing, that belief, right? And other people can be very convincing, and especially if that's all we've known. But the moment you see it and you get the formula, like pay attention to what's on the world stage. Can you see the formula yet? Can you see the repetition? It's not innovative. It's the repetition of the same thing again and again and again and again and again. The same scare, the same like, ooh, we're going to create this problem and then we're going to create the solution to fix that problem. But it was all done by the same puppeteers, right? So take a moment to just breathe into yourself. Ask yourself, what do you know to be true about yourself, about life or existence, about your connection relationship to source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And it might be that, oh, I don't know what my connection is, but notice where you are with that. What do you know to be true about your soul? What do you know to be true about your heart? And amidst all of that, asking your being, what is it that I truly, truly want and desire? And I don't mean a person, place, or thing. Go straight to the frequency. What is the frequency that would feel like home? That would just make you go, okay, I don't have to be scared. I don't have to fight. I don't have to protect. I don't have to defend. I don't have to do anything. I can just exhale. And whatever that is for you personally, bask in that. Feel it. Let it, like, even just as I'm sitting here, I can feel immediately how my body, the energy around my body, my auric field changes. It feels warm and fuzzy and like cozy. And I'm wearing this like nice jumper because it's raining today, although I miss the sun. But it's like it feels soothing and comforting. That feeling, whatever that is for you, and if you can't find it right now, that's okay. Just keep on coming back to it. That needs to be the guiding point. What is going to change the way that we show up in the world and what is going to change the world itself is a state, a feeling state, a being state. Sure, there are things that we have to do and get done to create a new world, right? Which is happening simultaneously. But it has to initiate from that feeling state, because I used to talk about this when I would do manifestation courses. If you're trying to manifest out of fear or lack or expectation or an old pattern or an old belief system about yourself, you're going to keep on manifesting shit that ain't good for you, right? You're going to keep on manifesting the same asshole because it's the birthplace of creation is from a state of feeling, from a state of being. The doing happens secondary, right? It's after. So what we're tending to right now, and you know, I would say this of a person that is wanting to leave a relationship, it's like tune into your heart, tune into your body. Your body already knows. It was Kyle Cease that was talking about, I saw a video of him and he was, you know, giving a lecture or whatever, a workshop. And he said, you know, he asked them a question. He said, okay, you're going to say yes or no to this. He said, meditation, yes. News, no. And so it was like, it's instant, right? The response to the body's response to something, yes or no. I want that. I don't want that, right? It's very clear. It's either yes, no, or neutral. And he says, but what happens is it's like the body will go, oh, no, I'm not happy in this job. It knows immediately. It's a no. But the mind will go, oh, but you know, I get benefits and it gives me security. And But the body's going, yeah, but you're not happy. We're not happy doing this. This is kind of shitty. I don't want to live like this. But the mind's going, oh, let's just try and figure it out. Let's reason. We have to drop out of the mind and into the body and really trust ourselves and that feeling. Your mind will go into fear. You've been trained to, right? We've got to retrain it to not just be like, oh, I need to get rid of the fear. You need to retrain it to see fear with courage, through the eyes of courage. Courage takes fear by the hand and goes, okay, let's move through this together. You know, but we got to move through it. Otherwise, it's like this forever shadow that's following you every night, wherever you go, right? We don't want to live like that. We want to be free. We want to be joyful. We want to feel light, right? So the feeling has to be the first point of contact, and for us to trust it and to know that, yes, there are going to be moments where you're scared. There are going to be moments where it's a labor. It's going to be intense, and you've got to push yourself to go against what you're used to. You know, I've said this many times that the mind will often choose what it knows, even if it's not good for it, then choose an unknown that is potentially or probably or is so much better for it. Because the mind wants to experience what it knows, because that's what makes it feel safe. But that's the thing, is we don't need to live in the reptilian mind anymore. We don't need to live in survival anymore. So we don't need to be making these decisions out of like safety, security. I know this, comfort, I'm in control of it. All of it is a fucking illusion. What actually makes the soul come alive and feel safe, it's not the right word, because nothing can harm or touch your soul, so it doesn't need to feel safe. It just is. It doesn't even have to question it. But what makes us feel in that place of home within ourselves is when we're following our joy, our truth, our authenticity. Live more from your soul. You know, incorporate the fact that you're human and you have a personality and you have a mind and you have an ego and you have feelings and you have sensations, and include that. But let your soul lead. We're moving into different times, different frequencies, different dimensions. We are soul. We're not human. We're soul having this human experience. So let your soul lead. So have the practice every day. You know, this can be the invitation. Ask your soul. Ask your soul, what message do you want to share with me today? What do you want to show me? Guide me today. Let me make decisions from my soul rather than my ego or my past or my patterns or my fear or what. It goes straight to the source. And this is why for me it's interesting to work with the soul, because it's going straight to the source. We've spent enough time going through the whole analysis phase and, you know, trying to unpick everything. I think now we're in quantum leap mode. You can just let go of that shit. Just let it go. And I know it sometimes is easier said than done, but actually sometimes it is literally just making the choice to be like, I'm going to let go of that relationship. I'm going to let go of that old version of myself. I don't need it anymore. It's an old version. It's like going through your closet and looking at clothes that you've been holding on to for 20 years. You're like, yeah, that's not me anymore. And I'm never going to wear it. And I don't even fit into it anymore. Why am I holding on to it? Let it go. What we hold on to is less the thing and more what we thought about the thing, or the connotation or the memory or whatever it is. It's not the actual thing. The thing is useless. It's sitting in your closet doing nothing, right? So there's an analogy of just let go of the part of you that is no longer real and alive today, that's cluttering up your inner home. And we're needing to do this both micro and macro, personal and collectively. So yeah, we're going through the breakup, but at least we're not alone, but stop taking the abuse. Stop feeling disempowered. Stop giving your power away. And I appreciate that it's easier said than done, but we can do it together step by step. And really, it's less of a step by step doing and more just like, be with your state of being. Are you living from a state of fear, or are you trusting your soul to guide you? That must be our starting point. That's like the ignition where we put the key in to our day, is let my soul guide me today. Let me listen to my soul. It will tell you. It will let you know. We just have to get used to hearing it. And we have to trust it. We have to learn to trust it because we've been severed from it. So it feels a little bit unfamiliar. And remember, the mind doesn't like what it doesn't know. But stretch yourself. Neuroplasticity, right? So don't be too scared. It's okay. If your fear's there, love it, embrace it, hold it, be with it. Let it go. But don't let it run you. Don't let it rule you. It's all going to be okay. It's just a bit of a shit show. And every breakup can be messy at times, and it can be scary. But I'm sure you've been through one, if not two, three, four, five, like hairy, messy, uncomfortable, painful, heartbreaking breakups. And guess what? You're still here. You're still here. So let's do it. Okay? We're here for each other. I'm here for you in spirit, on the screen. And don't lose faith. Don't lose faith in yourself. Don't lose faith in soul. Don't lose faith in source. You are held. You are loved. You are protected. You are free. That's all. Take it or leave it as feels right for you. Loving you from afar. Bye. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.